we realize these techniques may be very, very different from what you were taught from your instructor or the way you currently fly. Flying a trike is very much an art and style. I'm Larry Mednick, and this is my technique. So we head out for a little trip, and our first stop is Oahu, where we do some advanced flight training. This is a crow hop, which is a great exercise we're going to talk about just a little bit more, and really perfects the control of the aircraft for landing and takeoff as well, so that you're practicing basically flying high alpha in ground effect, which is essentially what you're doing on landing. Advancing it a little bit more, you can actually go from left to right. Here we're actually lifting a wheel and riding just on the one wheel, and we're in perfect control. 3 o'clock in the Hawaiian afternoon here. It's a little bit rowdy and gusty, but we have good control. Here we're practicing a simple dead stick landing, and we're again using a full flare, soft field style landing, where we've slowed the aircraft all the way down. Paul Hamilton invited me to come out to Reno, so we could do a little bit of flying together. I didn't realize we'd be flying together, but in separate aircraft. But here we are. We had a great time, and we did, of course, get to fly in the same trike, just not this day. Just a fantastic time flying with Paul, who asked me to come out and do some advanced ground instruction with a couple of his students. Now what we're going to do when we go out after we fly a little bit is we're going to play a game. I'm going to work the throttle. You're going to stay off the throttle. We're going to start with the bar and the full bar out compression strut. And the game is, I don't want your back tires to get more than this high off the ground, and I don't want your front tire to touch the runway. We're going to run the entire length of the runway while I'm working and altering the throttle. But if you put your nose wheel down on the ground and the bar's here, or even here, I'm going to say, hey, get it up, get it up, get it up. And you're going to need to get there. And it may take 4 or 5 seconds, but that nose will start to fly. And then if we take off and you start leaving ground effect and your tires are getting up here, hey, get down, get down, get down, get down. So the trick is when you get really good, you'll be stabilized and you'll just be on the back wheels, holding and protecting the nose wheel. And then when you get really, really good, we're going to just go ahead and drop the wing a little bit, about like this, and then push. And we're going to drift to the right side of the runway, and we're going to drift to the left side of the runway. And if you do it hard, one wheel will pick up, like I think you were talking about earlier, and then the other wheel. But that doesn't even need. You can have both wheels on the ground and drift to the right, drift to the left. And the whole time we come in for a flare, the whole time we're looking at where the center line is. We're making corrections in the flare to drift over to the center line so that we end up on the center line.
The whole thing.
Okay. All the way into here.
Yeah.
Okay. See how much bend you have in your elbow?
Yeah.
We want to maximize leverage.
Okay.
So we don't want your grip so wide that you have to let go with your hand when you go full, but we want just this bend. So now let's come back. Okay. This is a much better grip width for you.
Interesting. So way out here.
Yep. And
Okay.
what that's going to do is it's going to allow you have a triangle built into your frame now.
Yeah.
Now I want you to drop your elbows. There you go. Now what you're doing by dampening this out, you want to use the weight of your arms, is that when the bar starts to move this direction, the weight of your arm is going to resist. If your hand is in here, now I move this way,
Right.
you have to do something.
Yeah.
So this triangle is what gives you dampening. In turbulence in the bar, it moves so fast, there's no human that can move quick enough, because what happens is you start to fight it, and it goes the other way and you throw it.
Right.
When we land, we want to get into very high alpha, and that's going to make landing it easier. So show me how you get the bar out to the compression strut.
Now I get it.
Yeah. Okay. This is a locked elbow. Arch your back. Arch your
Yeah.
back. No, don't lock your elbows. Keep your elbows down. Now I'm going to try and you're going to resist me.
Wow.
I can't move it now.
Wow.
Lock your elbows.
Yeah.
Big
and
difference.
It hurts too.
And it hurts too.
Yeah.
So you got to keep your elbows down.
Okay.
Now in this position, you have control.
Yeah.
You can drop a wing. As soon as you come up here, you've given up control. You have no more control. a gust of wind comes, you're helpless.
Right.
And that's where people start going off the runway and they pull the bar in because otherwise they're going to continue to go. But if you drop this elbow,
Right.
and now a gust of wind comes and does this to your wing, you can fight it. You can drop that wing against it all the way to the struts.
Wow, okay.
So that's the secret to getting in high alpha and being able to continue to control it.
What's a high alpha?
High angle of attack.
Okay.
And high angle of attack is where pretty much all wings like to be. And they don't want to bounce and they don't want to take off again. And it wants to make the wheels settle on the ground. And it just gives you a really nice landing. This particular wing likes to be in this attitude a lot. It really likes. What happens when you hunch your back is, watch my arms. You hunch your back
Yeah.
and your elbows come up. You need your elbows down. And it takes getting your back arch to drop the elbows. You look at what's happening to my elbows. When you put your hands on top,
Yeah, it drops.
all of a sudden, and now this is actually how you want it.
Seriously?
Sure. You don't need this finger at all. This doesn't do anything. All of it's coming from these two fingers, middle and the ring finger. The pinky doesn't do anything. You're going to fly just with these two fingers. And now you're rotating everything in, elbows down, and you've got a triangle. I want you to go 2 parts back to every part you go sideways. So that's going to be more this direction. Yep. And what you're really doing is you're just really going to drop this elbow down.
Okay.
And when you lay into this elbow, pulling it back that direction, the trike's going to respond like you've never seen it respond before. It's going to start to roll in, and it's going to want to keep rolling. The next thing that people generally do is it starts to roll, it wants to roll, they high side it. They try to stop the roll.
Yeah.
And what that does is it causes it to skid sideways, and you fight it for a little bit.
Yeah.
So what you want to do to make a right turn is you're going to drop it in. It's going to start rolling. When you want it to stop rolling, you're going to push straight forward. Not at an angle, straight forward, and it's going to stop. And the wings are going to coordinate. If you push out too much, it's going to roll back onto the turn. It's just a little bump. And that little bump is going to set the turn. And it should stay in the turn if everything's trimmed out.
That's a really weird grip, though.
It is, and it's hard to get used to, but it's really allowing this to rotate this direction. When you put your thumb underneath, that's what gets your elbows up, and that's also what locks your elbow.
Yeah.
So you bring it down. And it's not like on a dirt bike where your hands are going to go flying off the controls. There's nothing that causes your hands to come off, not even in the worst turbulence. Now, if you want a landing, yeah, you can put your thumbs underneath if it makes you feel like you've got more control. But if you can learn to practice this way, you'll never put your thumbs under. Sometimes I will put my thumbs here, but again, I'm still, see how it just jacks your elbows out?
Yeah, it does.
And it takes away the whole purpose of the technique anyway.
So this is what I was doing.
Right.
Now it's a big difference.
You're going to work yourself to death trying to stop the bar from moving in turbulence there because it takes muscle instead of dead weight. And now you've got something that she doesn't have, which is you've got weight in the shoulders.
Right.
So that weight needs to come down. I'm going to show you how we get that weight in the control bar in a minute. Also, when you lock your elbows, your ability to move the control bar back quickly is nearly impossible. It's when your elbows are bent that you can work it. When it starts to take off, you can pull in and then right back out. As soon as you lock your elbow, it's like locking your knees when you're water skiing. There's no way you can be good enough to absorb the bumps and bend your knees and go back to locked knees. You've got to keep your knees bent so it can absorb.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with your elbows. So move the controls that direction. Good. And it's exactly right. You're using this hand. That hand's just not doing anything. Now you're not going to release the pressure on that hand. You're still going to have the weight, but you're just going to pull more with the hand that you want to go towards that direction. Okay. Raj, come over here. So I want you to hold where I showed you to hold the control bar. I'm the trike, you're the pilot. Okay. And this is now you're holding.
Yeah.
Now you notice I can take my hands out and the bar didn't go anywhere. I don't have the weight of your shoulders on the controls. So what I want you to try to do is stop holding the control bar up. That's the job of the trike. And I want you to relax. Relax. Try not to follow me. Right now you're following me. Let me move your hands. Now you're resisting me. Not looking for that either. Dead weight. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's it. And turbulence. Squeeze. Nice, crisp, and drop the elbow. Yeah. Ready? So 1, 2, and there it is. That was excellent. Let's get the weight of your hands on the control bar. I'm going to help you this time. I want you to drop your shoulders more.
Push on her
All the way
shoulders.
down. You're not holding down. There, I'm starting to get it. There. Now try to give me the weight of your hands. That's good. That's good. Now, right now, if you watch, you don't have to catch it. But you also notice I can't get my hands away from it.
All right.
She's not pushing down, but I have her hands. And now, if we're moving around in turbulence and this thing goes this way, you moved with me.
Right.
Resist me.
Okay.
Let me move your hands. So what she did was, and you can't see it, she followed. And that's something you want to avoid ever doing, is you never want to follow the controls for a second.
Okay.
A lot of people think, being light on the controls is, I'm light, I'm going to be light on the controls. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for dead weight. When the control bar tries to get away from you, what I want you to do is exactly what you did. If you're trying to move the bar and he goes that way, I throw the bar. And that's where the trike goes this way. After one wing came up, the next thing you see is the trike just roll the other way, and the pilot did it. And it's because they're putting lateral force.
And he's utilizing his body weight to transition into that bar.
And now, all right, so here's the big thing. That was his big one. Do you see how much I responded to his big one?
Very similar to.
Very similar. It does not take movement on the controls to make the rivaless roll. It takes bar pressure. So what do you get a lot of when the control bar is trying to go that way really hard and I stop it? A lot of bar pressure. The last thing you need to do is be concentrated on moving the controls. The thermal is going to create the bar pressure you need with you just making an isometric hold. The harder it hits, the harder it's going to roll you back the other direction. In high turbulence is the over control. You want to consciously take 4 seconds to level the wing. So you can get blasted like this. And let's say you were a quarter second behind me. That quarter second, this trike is boom, here. Now you're on the controls.
Yeah.
What you don't want to do is in 1/4 second, level the wings. And especially if you have passengers. The only thing worse than this on a passenger is this.
Right.
So even if you get blasted off this way, unless there's a cliff here, you take 4 seconds. 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, and 4 1,000. And the real nice thing is when you're doing it that slow, you don't want to have the person in the back even feel you release on the controls. Kind of like if you're coming up to a stoplight in a car, you don't hold the brake pedal until it stops and everybody goes throwing back. You kind of release the brake pedal a little bit as you come to a stop and make it soft. You're releasing the pressure, releasing and releasing, so it's soft, and now you're not swinging the carriage around. So you want to really consciously take 4 seconds to bring the wing down. And a lot of times, like Amy was saying, she got caught in really, really bad turbulence. She's trying for 4 seconds, but in 2 seconds she was going the other way already. And thank God she didn't try to bring it back in 2 seconds, because it really would have put her on the other side. So the biggest thing is self-discipline, not to give it too much. You want, you feel that need to bang it just as hard as you got it, and you really want to just take your time and take those 4 seconds to level the wing. Okay. And now we're moving around. Just relax. And the turbulence, good. And he's using the correct arm. You got turbulence, there it is. And see, he's using this arm to stop the bar from going that way. And that makes a huge, huge difference. And the other way. And he's also, you notice he's clenching. He's not jabbing the control bar back. He's just clenching his fist, and just the weight of his arms and clenching the fist is giving the control bar enough. There it is. And that's it. Real quick, because it helps if you understand what the dynamics are. Why does the nose pitch up when you get blasted by a thermal? And what makes your wing drop? So many people think that, the reason that my wing went up is because a gust from the side hit me. Well, that's not true. When a gust from the side hits you, you feel it rush through the cabin. Bar does nothing. The trike turns like this, then you get a rush through the other cabin, but not as strong as the gust goes away, and then it straightens back out. Same thing when you're coming in for a landing. When you get hit by a side gust when you're landing, that's when the carriage turns this way. There's no force in the controls, and then it straightens back out. So what it is that generally causes your wing to go sky high is a thermal, and that thermal lifts against the wing. the center of the wing has some trailing edge support in the way that the keel is supporting it. So it's nearly impossible, once this is in flight, for you to get any twist in the root. However, the more load that increases here, the more twist, the less angle of attack you get on your wingtip. So in one G flight, you're just flying along straight and level, the wing has a certain particular shape. If you were to pull the bar in and then push out or enter a turn, well, then you increase the G's, and what's actually happening is this will take a new shape because it's heavier. If you didn't have electric trim, what a lot of people notice is, well, the bar's here when I fly it by myself, and then when I put somebody heavy in the back, the bar's out here. They said, yeah, it has to do with the CG because they're sitting behind the seat. No, that's not it at all. The wing is actually changing shape. When it changes shape and you lose lift on your wingtip, that causes the wing to trim at a higher angle. So when you get blasted, what actually happens is that increased G load twists the wing out, which causes the trike to pitch up. You really feel it when you just fly right into a thermal straight. The control bar goes out, the nose goes up. And that's because this is almost like an elevator. When you hit that thermal, it twists here where it's allowed to twist, which is like up elevator, and that's what causes it.
Losing that lift.
Correct.
Losing the lift.
So when it hits one wing for a turn, it's generally doing the same thing. You're losing that lift in the tip, which causes it to go up. So pulling in also helps to continue to keep the nose down. The most important thing I found flying in big turbulence is you want to keep the attitude of the carriage from bouncing up and bouncing down. Generally what will happen is the nose gets pitched up from thermal or a wind gust, and increased speed will cause the nose to come up. Then you get low airspeed, which causes the nose to come down, and the trike starts doing one of these numbers. And believe it or not, it's extremely difficult to control the roll when the aircraft is changing airspeed and porpoising. So the first thing you do when you're out of control, the first thing you do is you stabilize the nose. And then it becomes real easy to control the roll with the technique that we just talked about. And you watch something related to the carriage. We don't care about the wing. The carriage will tell you what the trike's doing and where it's going. So if you can keep the nose directly from doing all this, then you'll be able to control the roll a lot better. People get so obsessed with getting the wing down, they don't realize that the nose is doing all this nonsense in the meanwhile, and it's aggravating it. So you want to keep the pitch. So that's another reason that...
Well, thanks for watching. We realize these techniques may be very, very different from what you were taught from your instructor or the way you currently fly. Flying a trike is very much an art and style. I'm Larry Mednick, and this is my technique.